But as you look down, you see Bourbon Street is starting to look how it normally would during the Sugar Bowl, with the crowds filling up pretty quickly out here. I mean, people were waiting outside the crime scene tape to get onto Bourbon Street. I see quite a few businesses that have since reopened, so a lot of people were waiting with anticipation to get back on Bourbon Street, but of course keeping in mind those lives that were lost and those 30-plus people who were injured. I did ask Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick just after the press conference to see, are these additional barriers going to be in place? Is this going to be a permanent solution? Is this a long-term solution? She said as of right now, this is just a temporary solution just to make sure that we can get through the Sugar Bowl. And she said they are going to explore other options as well to add additional safeguards, of course, as we get closer and closer to the Super Bowl and Carnival season that is just days away with the start of 12th night. So a lot of events still to come here in the city of New Orleans, not just the Sugar Bowl, but of course, as I just mentioned, Mardi Gras and the Super Bowl as well. So again, things looks like despite the tragedy that we had here now just a little more than 24 hours ago, people are starting to return to Bourbon Street really in droves, I would say, and of course still taking the time to acknowledge the 14 lives that were lost. You can see them the second you step onto Bourbon Street at the intersection of Canal and Bourbon, right where the truck plowed through these people, standing right here. It's surreal to see that this scene is reopened after it was shut down for an extended period of time. I do want to mention before I send it back to you all in the studio, there's also extra protection. Looking at it right now, there's a JPSO vehicle that is kind of catty-cornered in the intersection of Canal and Bourbon. Also another NOPD cruiser that is blocking the sidewalk where that car initially ran around that vehicle and onto the sidewalk, thus hitting those people. But again, as you can see, people are returning to Bourbon Street here this morning, this afternoon, I should say, and are continuing on with their Sugar Bowl celebrations. Sharice.
Oh, Lee, I have to ask you, I know that we talked about the cruiser being posted at the beginning of Canal and Bourbon Street, and NOPD cruiser was posted there again the night of the attack, the morning of the attack, rather. I can imagine it'll be a while before Bourbon Street will allow vehicles on that street. Do we know if they're cutting off vehicular traffic or if that's going to last for some time until they figure out a protection plan for people who are pedestrians on Bourbon Street?
Well, right now I can tell you there is still crime scene tape blocking off the street. They did remove the crime scene tape on the sidewalk to allow pedestrian traffic onto Bourbon Street, but as far as the streets are still blocked off. So there is still no vehicular traffic allowed in this area. Still waiting for more clarification and confirmation as to when vehicle traffic will be allowed back on this street. But as of right now, it is even extending further a little bit past both sides of Bourbon Street. The streets are still blocked. So at this time, it's still not clear when we could see that vehicular traffic move into the area. I'm looking at some movement now of a Homeland Security vehicle out here, as well as some additional state trooper vehicles that look like they're moving in, getting ready to get set and in place. So still a very strong show of force when it comes to law enforcement presence out here. But again, it doesn't look like they're going to be opening the street anytime soon.
Yeah, a strong show of force, especially from law enforcement, given the fact that they've confirmed from the FBI that Jabbar was acting alone, and thankfully they can open that street back up. But still, we have some recovery to do for sure. Leah, I'll check back in with you in a second. I want to switch on over to Amelia Strahan because she was further down Bourbon Street. And Amelia, I have to ask you, there's conversations that I'm hearing when I'm walking around the French Quarter earlier today of people who were concerned about being on Bourbon Street, people who were concerned about being in the quarter and trying to avoid the area. But you say, some people are ready to get back there. Are you hearing those same conversations, those fears while they're ready to get on Bourbon Street, people who are kind of anxious about what happened this morning or yesterday morning?
Yeah, people did not waste any time getting back on Bourbon Street. As soon as they opened that street, people were flooding down here. I walked a little bit further down. I'm going to step aside so you can see we have some of the, iconic restaurants. We saw them actually open up their doors just a second ago. There are people walking in. You can probably hear there's even, sounds like some jazz music playing.